Now we turn to the parents' role in their children's education. I'm joined now by Sharlonda Buckman, who heads up family and community engagement for the Detroit Public Schools Community District, and Jonathan Clark, who is board chair of 482 Forward, an education organizing network. Welcome, both of you.
Thank you for having me.
So one of the things that really bothers me when I talk to people about Detroit schools is people who are not from here often say to me, well, you know, it's really the parents. That's really the problem. The parents don't care enough. They are not committed enough to making great choices for their kids. They're not committed to following through on those choices. Of course, if you live here in the neighborhood and send your kids to the schools like everybody else, you know that's not true. That's a misconception of what's going on. But what is it that we need parents to do that they're not doing right now in Detroit schools?
Well, I think you know my background. I've been in the trenches, leading with many parents who are making decisions and covering our children all over this community. I think there are things that we can do within the district, and that we're moving towards viewing parents as partners and part of the solution of how we're going to turn this district around. I think we have to close the communication gap. In many of the conversations I have, many times parents are the last ones to know when they really should be the first ones to know. They're the first responders, especially when it impacts their children. I think we're creating a multitude of platforms to better engage them. We're going to a PTA district, and so creating a platform for parents and teachers to work together so that we're more centrally focused on children. We're also going to expand parent-teacher home visit, and that's another way in which parents who may not always get to the school, it creates an opportunity for teachers to actually see what's happening in the home and develop strategies around how to improve the child's behavior, attendance, academics. So I think there's some innovative things that we're looking at doing and building on some things that are already there to ensure that our schools are not only welcoming, but we are positioning our children to win by finding a way to say yes.
When you talk with parents as part of your network, what do you hear from them about what they need that they're not getting?
They need to, in my opinion, they need to be educated on what their rights are and what their powers are. Parents for too long have been silenced. They've been shut out of the process. Some parents that want to be super parents and want to be involved in their child's education, sometimes they feel intimidated. And the key for us as parents and leaders in the community is we have to push them and we have to educate them on the powers that they do have. They do have a say-so in what their son or daughter has to deal with at school. They can walk into that school and check on their kids without an appointment. They can go and they can request a meeting with the teacher or with the administration. They have a voice. In this neighborhood, for example, we all know it's a desert. I was talking to a young man a couple of weeks ago. I had received a bad report that he was doing something wrong, but when I pulled up to the scene, he wasn't. They were just having a family birthday party. And I asked him, I said, are you ready to go back to school? And he just shook his head, like, no. I'm like, why aren't you excited? He was like, because I have to go to this particular school. That let me know that he recognizes that there's an issue. He doesn't have a say-so in where he goes to school.
He doesn't have a lot of choice.
He doesn't have a choice. He has one option, and he's not satisfied with that option. And for far too long, our kids have been forced into bad situations. And parents, if they don't know how to fight, or don't know
what are you supposed to do,
what do they do?
So what do we do about that from the district side? There aren't that many choices in parts of the city like this from the Detroit Public Schools. Do we need to create more choices, or do we also need to create a culture where people believe they can exercise those choices on their own?
I think part of the work is making sure that our schools are chosen because they are getting service right. Because when you walk in the school building, you get acknowledged. There's someone there to welcome you. There's someone there to listen to what your issues are and to help you through to resolution. It's part of what I think the work is for the Office of Family and Community Engagement, is to help parents be able to navigate a system that seemed insurmountable for parents for a long time, and many times weren't able to get what they need. But I think there are moves that we're making to kind of change that culture and to move to be a district where this kid is excited about going back to school.
This is the first fall of the new Detroit Public Schools. Do parents have different expectations? Are they expressing different expectations to you guys in the district already?
I think that, I would say earlier this year, I got the sense, especially with the announcement of school closures, that parents were just fatigued with the numerous issues that are falling upon them, just life issues. But I think that with the energy that we've opened the schools with the expedience that our superintendent is moving with, it's the way that he leads us in saying act with urgency. I think you have a lot of energy that is focused around welcoming kids back. The first day of school will never be the same for me. We had marching bands out, and we had fraternities and sororities. They rolled out red carpet. I mean, it was a kind of culture that would make a kid want to go back to school. We have to do more of that. And then we have to listen, we have to serve, and we have to recognize that families, that our parents are part of the strategy in being able to put our kids in a winning position.
Yeah. Are parents, from your side, are parents excited about this new district and what it's promising, or are they skeptical? Because how many times have they been told things are going to be different and they weren't?
With the conversations that I'm having, they're very skeptical.
Yeah.
I mean, they want to be hopeful, they want to be optimistic, but what do they have to go on? What have they been shown year after year after year after year? They really want something different, and they want you to say one thing and do that one thing.
Yeah.
But I think parents in this community are exercising power differently. We saw a different response when that school closure list came out. This community responded in force. Parents were on the front line of that. I saw parents exercising, opting their children out of testing, feeling like we're not going to give you the tools to close our schools. I saw parents who were writing letters, who were riding the bus up to Lansing, and we turned that situation around. So I think there is a lot more energy around, taking ownership of our schools, and I think some of the programs and opportunities for parents to engage with our schools are going to look different, feel different, and be centered around their interests.
Yeah, is that enough? Is that enough to overcome that skepticism?
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
It's early to say, right?
It's very early.
We're only a couple weeks in.
But I personally am optimistic at what I see.
Yeah.
I am.
And what is it that makes you optimistic? What are you seeing that says this is going to be better?
As a dad,
Yeah.
honestly, the new leadership.
Yeah. You feel like
Dr. Vitti, and I've only met him a few times, but with speaking with him and hearing people speak about him, it's something fresh.
Yeah.
It's something new about him. Yeah. His history excites me. Yeah. He shares a story that my son shares. Yeah. So there's a connection here.
Yeah. Well, we're going to hear from Dr. Vitti in a little bit, but Sharlonda, Jonathan, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen, for having
me.
me.
All right, over to you, Christy.
Yeah, thanks, Stephen. We talk about parents. Well, we have a church full of them in here right now. We have parents and we have kids who are very interested in kind of weighing in a little bit on what their thoughts are in beginning the school year. Ora Williams is with me. She has one grandchild living with her who goes to DPS schools. And I guess I'm going to ask you, do you have any new or different kind of expectations starting the school year this year with a different structure in place for DPS?
Well, I do feel that it's going to be different because I've been reading articles that Dr. Vitti has written and have kind of followed what he's been doing and what he expects. That has given me hope. Previously, one of the things that I found was it was the same thing being said each year. But I have a lot of hope now with 482 Forward, with Sharlonda Buckman and the parent engagement, because I think that you have to get parents involved. You have to let parents know that they have a voice. And I think that wasn't given to parents before. And what was happening also is that, as Jonathan stated, they were intimidated. So I think this new district and the schools are more welcoming.
Do you think it's also part of education that people need to know how to be empowered, that they need to know the tools that they can go in, they can ask questions, they can demand something different?
Oh, they have to. They have to be educated. And one of the things is when there are meetings that are here to educate the parent, they've got to come out to those meetings. We've got to get parents back to realizing that you are the one in control of your child, and you have to be the one that goes into that school and advocates for your child.
When you send your granddaughter to school every day, what are your concerns?
Safety is number one, making sure that she's safe, making sure that she's learning and that the teacher understands who she is and the type of learning that she does. There's all different types of learning, and sometimes teachers don't realize that. So I want the teacher to recognize her as an individual and not group her with all of the other students in the classroom.
You know, it's so funny when people talk about success and making sure that kids are successful and students have success. When you think every night and before you send her to school, what do you hope and pray for? What does success look like for you and for your family and for your granddaughter, do you think?
Success to me is that she becomes a upright citizen. She practices her citizenship, that she does what she wants to do in life, that she enjoys her career, whichever lane she takes. Doesn't have to always be college. It can be a trade school. It could be whatever she wants to do. And I teach her that whatever you do, do it to the best of your ability.
Well, I hope the school year goes well for her. Ora Williams, thank you so much.